Hello, what's up guys, Panzer here, and today I'm taking a look at Robocraft. Now Robocraft is a little indie game made by a company called FreeJam. Now if you haven't heard of them, that's probably because they, from what I can tell, they haven't made anything before yet. But if this is anything to go on, I'd say they're going in the right direction pretty fast. So what you're looking at right here is actually what could be described as a combination of Minecraft and World of Tanks. And why do I say that? Well, what you're looking at right now, you can see all the cubes in that vehicle right there, and it's a vehicle with guns on it. So assuming that there's combat involved, it's gonna be something like World of Tanks or War Thunder or any of those games that involve some sort of combat in vehicles and not much of the infantry first-person shooter sort of things. But the question that you're probably thinking of right now, well, is it any good? And don't worry, I'm about to get to that. So, first things first, we're going to go through how exactly we go about building anything. And that's simply done by the left click and right click. So left click to place a block, right click to remove a block. You press Q to open your inventory, choose from a block, close the inventory, and then place a block. It's that simple. Make a shape, add some wheels, add some guns. It's literally that simple. The thing is, it's kind of hard to tear yourself away from the game long enough to kind of step back and have a look at what it is that you actually made. And that is kind of where things get a little messy, and the first few creations you make aren't gonna look overall that spectacular, but they'll function, and that's kind of all you can really ask for. The gameplay itself and combat is pretty fast paced, so matches will be over in seconds. What you're looking at on the screen right now is a couple of battles that I went into, and if you just look at how quickly I get destroyed, yeah, it's probably because I'm not very good at the game, but that being said, it is a very fast-paced combat sort of game. Or sometimes you just get capped out. Yes, that's right. The objective mode in the actual battle is very similar to what you might experience in World of Tanks, where you have to either eliminate the enemy team or simply capture the enemy base, and that's done by just sitting in the circle zone and waiting for the timer to tick down. Sounds pretty familiar? There you go. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with that sort of game mode, because when it comes to vehicular combat, there's not a lot of different ways to do it. And personally, I think this is a good way to start. I'm sure they'll definitely come up with more things in the future. As far as content goes, there's loads of different parts to play with. There's lots of different guns, and there's even a progression system that you can have a look at, where you can actually research newer versions of your existing guns, propulsion devices such as wheels, thrusters, or even hover fans, and you can create new creations out of that, and that'll give you an overall better vehicle. In addition to that, there's also an in-game currency and a paid currency. As the site says, it is going to be free, so microtransactions are going to take place. However, from what I can tell, doesn't appear to be anything just yet that would require cash only, aside from the usual boosts and trading time for money, etc. But parts-wise, everything seems to be available for in-game currency at no cost to you, so don't worry so much about pay to win, and just kind of worry more about building to win, where you can get your ass kicked pretty quickly if your robot just isn't up to scratch. Luckily though, they have included this little practice mode, which is available through the battle menu, and it pits you in a simulated battle against the AI, some of which aren't even in armed vehicles, so they can't even shoot back. But what this mode is more useful for, rather than practicing your skills against something that doesn't shoot back, is to test out if your robots actually work. And trust me, you're gonna want to do that, because if you don't build your machines properly, they might end up being unbalanced, and in the case of those flying contraptions, that's gonna be a big problem. As you're seeing right now, I'm upside down and I can't do shit. So test out your machines before you go into battle. It's normally gonna save you a bit of frustrations. Now, to bring back to the original question, is this game any good? And I'm gonna have to say yes. It's very fun to play, and the whole creativity aspect of putting a machine together kind of harks back to the old days of playing Lego and challenging your friends to imaginary space battles or whatever. And that's something that even I used to do when I was little. Come on, we've all been there. We all wanted the little fantasy where we could make something really awesome with our toys. This is kind of the grown-up version of that. And it's a lot of fun, and it's free, so go give it a try. A side note though, I do think the flying machines do need a little bit of work, and it's not because they don't work, it's just I have a little bit of a problem with the way they function right now. They don't seem to go high enough to really protect themselves from ground fire, and they don't seem to have that much of an advantage against the ground vehicles. In fact, if anything, they seem to be at a more disadvantaged position because of the fact that if any of those hover blades or any of their propulsion devices get shot off, they lose their balance completely. See, a wheeled vehicle on the ground losing a single wheel, or even losing all of its wheels on one side, is still able to function as a stationary turret. There's no problem with that. The thing is, a pilot flying one of these machines, if you lose one of those fans, you start tilting in one direction or another, and when that happens, you're not able to fight back. So, the devs, if you're watching, this might need a little bit of reworking. As far as combat for them goes, I'd say, would it at all be possible to give them a strafing function instead of just turning? Because then at least they'd be able to have a decent advantage over the ground vehicles. At least the ground vehicles aren't able to do that, necessarily. But that's just my 2 cents on it. Overall, it's still a very well polished game given the state that it's in right now. And there's definitely going to be a lot more content coming, so stay tuned for that. It's free, go give it a try. As always, this is Panzer here, and I'll see you next time.
Quadra kill.